I'm Jack Sosinski, triathlete from the Gold Coast, and you're watching me on Run Forest Run TV. I'm Jack Sosinski, 23 from the Gold Coast, professional triathlete, and I work at Mike's Bikes as well as studying exercise science at Griffith Uni. Don't have any official sponsors, but the guys at Mike's Bikes have really helped me out across my whole sort of junior years and currently at the moment with servicing and giving me access to a lot of really good gear that I can get through the bike shop. I've also been lucky enough to ride some Carbon Mafia wheels this season too, and then other people sort of helped me out as well, like Tim Burkle's given me some stuff and Matt Hauser as well. So yeah, I'm lucky to have a lot of good contacts throughout my journey. So my mileage sort of fluctuates a little bit depending on what sort of phase I'm in training. But I would say on average I normally swim between sort of 15 and 20. Ride probably on average around that 400, give or take. And then running probably around that 80 Ks a week on average. And then a couple of gym sessions in there as well. Two-time Olympian, Irish triathlete. And then Jenny Elkhorn as well, I've developed through the Surfers Paradise Triathlon Club, which most people on the Gold Coast sort of have been trained by Jenny. She's excellent coach and provided such a great environment for me to start off in the sport in the shorter distance. Then once I left school, I've always loved sports. Growing up, I grew up in Ballarat in Victoria, and as a kid I played lots of different sports, but my favourites are probably Aussie rules football and cricket. I played them all through my childhood years, as well as doing a bit of like cross country and stuff at school. And then throughout my teenage years when I moved to the Gold Coast, I still did those other sports but got more involved in cross country running for a start at school, and then sort of transitioned into triathlon at probably the age of like 13 or 14, and then that eventually took over throughout my sort of high school years and have been doing triathlon ever since. I sort of started triathlon through the ITU, sort of like the shorter distance draft legal stuff, and then have been doing the middle and long distance since the end of 2021, so about 18 months now. Yeah, I've been really lucky to have some great coaches over my sort of career. So I started off, I went to Emmanuel College through my high school years, and sort of started getting coached by Andrew Ferris and as well as David Reed and Aileen as well, Aileen Reed, two-time Olympian, Irish triathlete. And then Jenny Elkhorn as well, I've developed through the Surfers Paradise Triathlon Club, which most people on the Gold Coast sort of have been trained by Jenny. She's excellent coach and provided such a great environment for me to start off in the sport in the shorter distance. Then once I left school, I have moved into more of the high performance environment with Dan Atkins, who's coaching me now. And throughout that time, I've been really lucky to train with some great athletes. Currently, he's got a squad of probably about a dozen, predominantly short course athletes, but then living on the Gold Coast, there's so many middle and long distance athletes you can train with, like Tim Van Berkel, Joe Begbie, as you saw those two in the video today, as well as plenty of cyclists as well. Like there's so many endurance athletes on the Gold Coast that you're never short on training partners, so it's a great place to train. So the team, I've got a really great team around me. I also forgot to mention one of my big coaches when I was throughout my high school years as well, was Ash Callis. He was my swim coach for a number of years out at Somerset College. So that Ash is someone I forgot to mention before. So sorry Ash if you're watching this. And then my team around me currently, so Dan Atkins is really great, sort of bringing me on board. Helping me train with some really great guys in the sport, such as like Matt Hauser and Matt Roberts, Lorcan Redmond, Brad Course. Those guys are, it's just such a great environment to train with those guys every day. Like, they're predominantly short course guys, but I think that really helps me in the longer distance, where naturally I'm probably a bit slower and more suited to the endurance aspect of the sport. So training with those guys really helps sharpen me up before races, and just a professional environment that Dan creates is awesome. So Dan's a really big part of that. And then Dan's got a few people working under him as well, so like Dan McTainish and sort of the support staff through the QAS, which I'm lucky enough to sort of jump in for a few sessions with those guys. I'm not part of the QAS, but the squad, Dan's squad, all are QAS athletes. And then other people that play a big role in my sort of career at the moment are, like, as I said, Tim Van Berkel and other training partners such as like Joe Begbie, Kane Richards. He's overseas at the moment, but do a bit of training with Kane when he's here. And then my family's a big supporters of mine as well. So my sister's actually a development triathlete as well, under 23. So she's in the Triathlon Australia program. So she trains under Dan too. So she's a great swim partner for me. She always towels me up in the pool. And then my brother as well used to do triathlon too. So we grew up training together. He doesn't race anymore, but he's still comes out on the odd run. And then my parents are great supporters of mine as well, sort of allow me to do all this sort of stuff. And then other people that help, obviously, at the bike shop. And then that's about it. It's probably the biggest race I've done. Definitely the biggest race I've done was the 70.3 World Championships in 2022, which was in St. George in Utah. That was a really hard race. I was probably a bit out of my depth. I think I was one of the youngest in the race, and I'm sure some people have seen the race where it was Christian Blumenfeld and Gustav Iden and Magnus and Ben Canute. Everyone was there, so it was a really hard race, and the course at St. George was brutal as well. It was, well, compared to what some people might go to, it's not considered altitude, but for me, I'd never really been much higher than here on the Gold Coast at sea level, competing anyway. So it was about at 1,000 meters, so I definitely noticed the altitude, and it was really cold as well. It was like 8 degrees for most of the race, and starting in the dark as well was quite a daunting experience at the start of the race. I had an alright swim. I was sort of maybe top 20 coming out of the water, and was sort of in the top 20 for maybe about the first half, probably the first third or the first half of the bike. And then the level of those guys certainly got the better of me. I was cramping probably at about 75k before we had the Snow Canyon Hill, so it was probably not my best performance, but definitely my favourite race I've done, racing at that level. And then it's definitely made me more motivated to get back to racing at that level. So I've qualified for the World Championships again this year in Finland, which is at the end of August. So that's the main race I'm training for at the moment. I've just sort of come off a few races, done Tassie, Geelong and Taiwan, Challenge Taiwan at the start of this year, and then had a little bit of a break, and then a bit longer forced break with COVID, but luckily it wasn't too bad. But just take it easy for another couple of days, and then have a good sort of block leading into Finland. There's so many endurance athletes on the Gold Coast that you're never short on training partners, so it's a great place to train. So next up for me is the World Championships, and leading into that I'm going over to Spain in Banyoles to train for that race. So I'm going to do a race on the way over there, so I'm just still working through my race schedule prior to that race, but I'll do a race in Europe on my way over there from Australia, and then I'm going to train in Banyoles for probably about 8 weeks leading into the race with those guys I mentioned before. It's a really great place, Banyoles. I've never been to Europe, but they all went last year, and there's a big lake there, so it's great for open water swimming, and the European roads are awesome as well. So I'm going to be training over there and yeah, living the professional life. So yeah, a bit more training over there than what I'm doing now. It was about at 1,000 meters, so I definitely noticed the altitude, and it was really cold as well. It's like 8 degrees for most of the race, and starting in the dark as well was quite a daunting experience at the start of the race. I had an alright swim. I was sort of maybe top 20 coming out of the water, and was sort of in the top 20 for maybe about the first half, nearly predominantly short course athletes, but then living on the Gold Coast, there's so many middle and long distance athletes you can train with. So yeah, I currently work at Mike's Bikes, as I touched on before. My role at the shop's predominantly sales and bike fitting, so it sort of incorporates well with my sort of interests outside of triathlon and work as well, which is sort of just general sport. I just love sport, so I'm studying exercise science at Griffith, so that certainly works in well with my bike fitting at Mike's Bikes. So I probably do that maybe at least half a dozen a week, I'd say on average, and then the rest of the time I'm sort of doing everything else around the shop, talking to customers, doing a bit of mechanical work as well. So that sort of takes, so I'm there 4 days a week most of the time, which is on average between sort of 30 hours, give or take, each week. So I wouldn't say that I train as much as what some other professional triathletes do, but I try to fit what I can around my work and uni schedule. So a typical training week probably consists of like probably between 4 and 5 of each discipline. So I can quickly run through it. So yeah, Monday will be, start off with a ride, normally just a strength endurance ride after the weekend, normally around 3 hours, and then work all day, and then come for a swim after work, which is similar strength endurance. It's probably around that 4K. Tuesday is more of a run day, so it's a double run. So I'll start the day with sort of a half an hour, just really easy jog, then into more of a strength-based swim, probably around that 4K again. Then I'll do a gym session, and then finish the day with more of a threshold run, sort of either at Nerang State Forest, or it might be a track session at Pizzey Park or Somerset Track. Wednesday, similar to Monday, I work all day, so I get out for a ride in the morning, a little bit longer this time, probably between 3.5 and 4 hours, then at work, and then sometimes I'll go for a swim after work on Wednesday, but normally because I start late, because I ride, I'll stay back late, so normally just go home. Thursday's typical day to what you're probably seeing on the video now. Do all three, but probably similar ride to what I did today, but the run's got a bit more work in it, so it's sort of got a build or maybe some tempo efforts. It's probably about 18 to 20 Ks in total, and then the swim's probably a bit longer as well, normally about 3.5K. Friday's always recovery, so I start the day taking the Mike's Bikes group out for a ride, which is just sort of an hour 15 easy spin, and then I'll do a hard swim actually on a Friday, which is more of a threshold based swim, about 5K, and then finish the day just with an easy jog. Saturday is a race specific session throughout the season, so it's a sort of a long ride with like race pace efforts in there, and then the run off normally is got some race specific work in there too. Ride's normally about 4 to 5 hours, and run offs sort of anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes. And then Saturday afternoon, normally try to get in a recovery swim of about 2.5, 3K, just to loosen up after that session. And then Sunday is just a long run in the morning, and then at work, I'm at work Saturday and Sundays as well, so just finish the day with a swim after work, normally an open water swim about 2K. That's sort of a general week for me. So my goals in the sport, well, I've always just loved the long distance side of the sport, as well as the short distance. Like I love all formats of triathlon, but my career goal has always been to race at Kona at the Ironman World Championships. So I'm still young to and still new to the long distance side of things. So I've done one Ironman at Busselton last year and sort of got a taste for the long distance racing. So I'm going to be doing Busselton at the end of this year as well. But yeah, just get more experience over the distance, and then throughout the sort of in the next couple of years, hopefully make it to Kona and race there. That'll be a big goal of mine.